No one expected it. The Dragon Emperor's heir ran past the throne and hugged a janitor. Golden pillars lined the hall, each carved with stories of dragons and humans from centuries past. The throne sat high on a raised platform, and today, everyone in the empire waited to see the young Dragon Emperor's heir. Lily Drake, the Emperor's only daughter, stood at the entrance. She was only 16, but her eyes held the fire of 1,000 battles. Her golden scales shimmered under the light as she walked forward. Every step echoed in the hall, and all eyes turned to her. Soldiers straightened, nobles murmured, and even the humans who served as emissaries from other worlds leaned forward in curiosity. At the back of the hall, unnoticed by anyone, a human moved quietly. His name was Sam Porter, and he was a janitor. He wore a plain blue uniform, and his mop squeaked faintly as he pushed it across the floor. Sam had been working in the hall for years, but no one ever paid attention to him. Today, though, he felt a strange tension in the air, as if something big was about to happen. He paused and looked up at the throne, noticing the dragon nobles arranging themselves for the ceremony. Lily stopped in the middle of the hall. Her sharp eyes scanned the crowd, and her heart skipped a beat. Something in the back caught her attention. A simple man in a blue uniform standing quietly pushing a mop. But there was something about him. She could not explain it, but a memory, faint and blurred, touched her mind. She remembered a warm hand helping her when she was a little girl, a human who had risked everything to save her. She ran. Lily's sudden movement startled everyone. Her golden scales reflected the sunlight like a flashing sword. She ran past the guards, past the emperor himself, and leapt toward the back of the hall. The nobles gasped, and the guards shouted, but Lily did not stop. Her small legs carried her faster than anyone expected. She reached the man, threw her arms around him, and held him tight. "Sam," she cried. Sam froze. His eyes widened. His mop slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. The janitor had no idea what to do. He was just a simple man, and suddenly a dragon princess hugged him as if nothing else in the universe mattered. "Princess?" Sam whispered carefully. He did not move, not wanting to hurt her accidentally. The Emperor Victor Hale rose slowly from his throne. His voice was deep and filled with thunder. "What is happening here?" he demanded. Every dragon in the hall turned toward them, their eyes wide with shock. Lily did not answer. She only held Sam tighter, her golden eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I remember you," she said softly. "You saved me. You promised you would keep me safe." Sam shook his head. "I am just a janitor," he said. "I only do my work here. I don't understand." Lily stepped back slightly but kept her hands on his shoulders. "No, you were more than that. You were my protector. You saved my life when no one else could." The nobles whispered to each other. Murmurs filled the hall. "Who is this human? How could a janitor know the princess?" A guard stepped forward, his spear raised. "Step away, princess. You cannot hug a commoner in front of the emperor." Lily looked at him, her small frame standing firm. "I will not let go," she said. "He saved me, that is all that matters." The emperor's face was red with anger. "Lily, this is unacceptable. Explain yourself now." Sam felt the weight of all eyes on him. He had never been important. He was just a man who cleaned floors and did small chores. But now the whole empire watched him. He swallowed hard and said, I remember. I helped the princess when she was a child, but that was long ago. I am nothing now." Lily shook her head. "You are not nothing. You are everything. I remember hiding behind the rocks. The fire was coming and I thought I would die. And then you were there. You took me to safety. You risked your life for me and no one knew. No one remembered." The emperor's voice boomed across the hall. "You dare to claim such things in front of the court?" Lily did not back down. "Yes, father, I do. I will not let this be forgotten." The nobles gasped. Humans had always been seen as weak, but here was the emperor's daughter honoring one. Some of the nobles whispered to each other, confused and angry. How could a janitor, a human, be so important? Sam looked at Lily, his heart beating fast. He remembered the day she had almost died. He had been a special envoy back then, sent to help mediate a conflict on the border of the human worlds. It had been dangerous. He had hidden her in a small cave and waited until the dragon patrols passed. He had never told anyone. Everyone believed he had returned home and forgotten the princess. He had not. And now here she was, standing in the Emperor's hall, remembering it all. Lily's eyes searched the room. "I know it is strange," she said quietly, "but I cannot lie. I cannot let the world forget. He saved me. He saved me when no one else could." The Emperor's jaw tightened. His claws clenched. "This is an insult to the Empire," he said. "You embrace a human in front of the court, claiming he is more important than the nobles. Do you understand what this means?" Lily nodded. "I understand, father, and I do not care. He is my hero." A young noblewoman stepped forward, her golden scales shimmering like lilies. "Your Highness," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "this is scandalous. A human in this hall, and you honor him like this." Lily turned to her. "I do not honor him because of who he is now. I honor him because of what he did. That is more important than any title or rank." Sam looked around. He had never imagined a moment like this. He had cleaned floors, fixed leaks, and pushed carts through empty corridors. He had never thought anyone would remember him. And now, the most powerful dragon empire in the galaxy watched as a princess hugged him like he was a hero. A murmur went through the crowd. Some dragons whispered to each other, some shook their heads, some stared in disbelief. How could a human, so ordinary, hold such importance? The Emperor leaned forward. "Explain to me," he said, "how a janitor saved a dragon princess." Sam took a deep breath. "It was many years ago," he said. "The princess was lost in the border lands. There was fire, war, and chaos. I found her, hid her, and kept her safe until she could return. No one else knew. I did not want credit. I only wanted her to survive." The hall went silent. Even the guards stopped shouting. Even the nobles who had been ready to attack paused. The Emperor's golden eyes stared at Sam, a new understanding forming. Lily smiled through her tears. "See, father, he risked everything for me, and now I cannot let that be forgotten. I will stand by him." For the first time in centuries, a human stood as equals among dragons in the Emperor's hall. Sam did not move. He only looked at the princess, feeling both fear and pride. The Emperor rose slowly. His claws clicked on the floor. "This changes everything," he said quietly. Perhaps we have all judged too quickly." Lily let go of Sam but remained close. "The world needs to know that bravery is not always about strength. Sometimes it is about courage, kindness, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Sam nodded, still unsure if he deserved such honor. But he remembered the little girl he had saved years ago. She had been scared, alone, and tiny in a dangerous world. And now that little girl had grown into a dragon princess, standing before him with fire in her heart and loyalty in her eyes. The Emperor looked at Lily and then at Sam. "I will not punish you," he said finally, "but you must tell me everything, human." "The Empire has questions, and I intend to hear the truth," Sam swallowed. "I will tell everything," he said, "but I ask only that you remember what really matters. Not titles, not power, but courage and loyalty." The nobles whispered again. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Some began to nod. Even the guards looked uncertain. No one had expected this. No one had imagined a janitor could hold such importance. Lily took Sam's hand gently. "The world is bigger than the throne," she said, "and sometimes the smallest hands do the greatest work." And in that moment, the grand hall of the Dragon Empire learned something it had never known. True courage often hides in plain sight, behind simple clothes and quiet steps. The janitor, the man no one had noticed, had become a hero. The Emperor's eyes softened as he looked at his daughter and then at Sam. "Perhaps," he said, "the future of this empire is not just in dragons but in humans as well." For the first time, Sam felt something he had never felt before: hope. He, a simple janitor, had changed the course of history, and with the dragon princess by his side, the empire would never be the same again. The hall was still tense, the whispers growing louder, but for Sam, all of that faded away. He had survived the impossible once, and now he stood in a place of honor beside the one he had saved, ready to face whatever the empire might throw at him next. The grand hall was still buzzing with whispers. The dragon nobles stared at Sam Porter, the human janitor, as if trying to see a trick hidden in his plain blue uniform. Guards shifted nervously, unsure if they should act or wait for the Emperor's next order. Sam stood quietly, holding himself as best he could, his heart pounding in his chest. He had never imagined he would be in this position, not in a million years. Lily Drake stayed close to him, her golden scales catching the light. Her eyes were filled with determination, but also with a small hint of fear. She knew the Empire might not forgive this display easily, but she could not let go. Sam had saved her life once, and she would not let him be forgotten again. The Emperor Victor Hale raised a claw to quiet the hall. "Everyone," he said, his voice deep and powerful, "we have witnessed something unusual. A human standing here claims to have saved my daughter's life many years ago, and the princess herself confirms this. We must understand the truth." A young noble, a dragon named Kale, stepped forward. His scales were dark red and his expression was full of anger and disbelief. "Your Highness," he said sharply, "this is outrageous. How can we allow a human, someone so insignificant, to claim such importance? This janitor—" "Stop," Lily interrupted firmly. "He is not just a janitor, he saved me. That is the truth, and it does not matter what you think of humans." Kale's eyes narrowed. "You are the heir to the throne, princess. You cannot openly favor a human over the Empire's nobles. It will cause unrest." Lily looked him in the eyes. "I am not favoring him over anyone. I am honoring him for what he did. If the Empire cannot see the value of courage and loyalty, then perhaps it has lost its way." The Emperor watched this exchange silently, his golden eyes narrowing. He had always been proud of the dragon's strength, their discipline, their power. But today, his daughter had shown him something he had not expected. A human had stood beside her, and in that moment he realized that perhaps humans were more than the Empire had believed. Sam took a deep breath, unsure if he should speak. "Your Highness," he said quietly, "I never wanted recognition. I only did what I had to do. I was there when she needed someone and I could not turn away. That is all." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Explain everything, human, every detail. How did you save her? How did you survive?" Sam swallowed hard. Memories he had tried to forget came rushing back. "It was during the border wars many years ago," he began. "The princess, just a child then, was trapped in a fire caused by the dragon patrols. I was part of a human envoy sent to mediate between our worlds. When the fire started, everyone panicked. I saw her alone, hiding. I carried her to a small cave and stayed with her for days, hiding from dragon scouts. I fed her, protected her, and made sure she stayed safe until it was possible to return her home." The hall went silent. The whispers stopped, and even the guards seemed frozen. The story was incredible. A human risking his life for a dragon princess, hidden away in a cave with no one else knowing. Lily stepped closer to Sam. "He was there," she said. "He held me when I was afraid, and he never let me go, even when the dragons came close. He saved my life." A murmur went through the nobles. Some of them shook their heads in disbelief. Some looked shocked, and some began to whisper among themselves, their voices low and nervous. How could a human, so ordinary, do what dragons could not? Kale growled under his breath. "This is impossible. No human could survive against dragons in the borderlands. It must be a lie." Lily glared at him. "It is not a lie. He survived because he was brave. That is the only reason. Courage does not depend on size or strength, Kale. You should know that by now." The Emperor's voice cut through the hall. "Enough," he said. We will not dismiss this until we hear everything from Sam himself. Sam nodded and took a deep breath. After the fire, he continued, I kept her hidden in the cave. We had only the supplies I could carry. She was small and weak, and I had to protect her every hour. There were dragon scouts searching nearby. I had to trick them, hide from them, and make sure no one knew she was there. I could not tell anyone because it would put her in danger. And then, when it was safe, I returned her to the human settlement. Everyone thought I died, and the princess, she was returned to her family, the emperor's palace, without knowing who had saved her. The hall was silent again. Even the youngest nobles were stunned. Humans had always been considered weak, fragile, unimportant. And yet, here was one who had done something dragons could not. The emperor leaned forward, his claws resting on the edge of the throne. Why did you hide all of this, human? Why did you not come forward sooner? Sam shook his head. Because the world was not ready. I did not want to cause a war or make the princess's life harder. I only wanted to keep her safe. That was all that mattered to me. Lily's eyes shone with tears. And that is why I cannot let it be forgotten, she said. He risked his life for me, and now he is here. We must honor him. Kale stepped back, his face red with anger. This is scandalous. A human saved the dragon princess. This is unheard of. It insults the empire. Lily's voice was calm, steady, but filled with fire. No, Kale. It does not insult the empire. It reminds us what is truly important. Courage, loyalty, and compassion. These things are more powerful than titles, than strength, than fear. Sam had all of these, and that is why he is important. Some of the nobles began to nod slowly. A few looked down at the floor, ashamed. They had always believed dragons were superior in every way, but now they had to admit that a human, a simple janitor, had done something none of them could. The emperor studied Sam carefully. You speak of courage, he said. And you have shown it, but can the human race truly be trusted? Can they survive in the chaos of our world? Sam met the emperor's gaze. I survived when it mattered most, he said quietly, and I am still here. I only ask that you judge me by what I have done, not by what you think I am. Humans are capable of more than anyone realizes. We are strong in ways you may not expect. The hall went silent. Even Kale seemed unsure what to say. Lily took Sam's hand and held it gently. See, father, she said, he speaks the truth, and now we must listen. He deserves it. The emperor nodded slowly. Very well, he said. You will tell your full story, human. Every detail, every risk, every choice. The empire must know. Sam swallowed hard. I will, he said. But I ask only one thing. Do not judge humanity by what you have heard of us. Judge us by what we do, by the courage we show and the choices we make. That is the truth of who we are. The nobles murmured again, this time quieter, more thoughtful. Some of them began to bow their heads slightly, as if in respect. The emperor leaned back on his throne, studying the hall. He realized that the young princess was right. The empire had always valued power, fire, and strength. But it had forgotten the value of courage that came without fear, the kind of courage that humans could show. Lily stepped forward. We cannot change the past, she said softly, but we can honor it. We can honor the people who risked everything to make a difference. Sam is one of those people. The hall was quiet now. Even the youngest guards seemed to understand. This was more than a scandal or a story. This was a lesson. Humans could be more than they seemed. And one human, standing in a blue uniform, holding the hand of a dragon princess, had proven that courage had no limits. Sam looked around, feeling a strange mix of fear and pride. He had never wanted recognition. He had never wanted power. He had only wanted to keep a little girl safe. And now, standing in the emperor's hall, he realized that the universe had a strange way of rewarding even the simplest acts of courage. The emperor finally spoke again. Prepare a recounting of the events, he said to the court. We must understand fully what happened. This human, this janitor, has earned his place in the history of the empire. Lily smiled, squeezing Sam's hand gently. "See," she whispered. "The world will know. They will see the truth." Sam nodded slowly. "I only hope they learn what really matters," he said quietly. The hall filled with whispers again, but this time they were different. There was awe, respect, and curiosity. No one had expected it. No one had imagined that a human could hold such importance. And now the whispers spoke of a hero, of courage, and of the bond between a dragon princess and a simple janitor. The Grand Hall had changed that day. What had started as a ceremony of power had turned into a lesson of humility, courage, and unexpected heroism. And in the back of the hall, Sam Porter stood quietly, knowing that the galaxy might never forget the actions of one ordinary man who had done the extraordinary. The story was not over, though. Questions remained. How had Sam survived the border wars? What secrets did he carry? And how would the Empire react to the knowledge that one human, small and simple, had achieved something none of the greatest dragons could? Lily looked at him, her golden eyes filled with determination. "We will face it together," she said softly. "No one will ever forget you again." And Sam, the janitor who had once believed he was invisible, realized that his life had changed forever. The Empire had seen his courage, the princess had recognized his sacrifice, and the world, he hoped, would learn that true bravery did not depend on scales, fire, or power. It depended on the heart. The Grand Hall had become a place of tension and wonder. Every dragon noble, guard, and human envoy was watching Sam Porter, the janitor who had suddenly become the center of the Empire's attention. The whispers of disbelief and curiosity swirled around like a storm, and Sam could feel the weight of every eye on him. He had never imagined being in this position. He was a simple man who cleaned floors, yet now he was the subject of history. The Emperor, Victor Hale, leaned forward in his throne. "Tell us everything, Sam Porter," he said. "Every detail of your time with my daughter." "I want the full truth. Nothing can be left out." Sam nodded. He took a deep breath and began. "It started during the border wars," he said slowly. "The dragons and humans were on the brink of conflict. My team was sent as negotiators, trying to stop a fight that could destroy both our worlds. But the border lands were dangerous. Fire, wind, and battle were everywhere. And then the princess was lost. I don't know how it happened. One moment she was with her guards, the next she was gone." The nobles gasped. Some covered their mouths, unable to believe that even a princess could get lost in the dragon's world. Lily stood closer to Sam. Her eyes were soft but firm. "I was small and scared," she said quietly. "I remember hiding behind the rocks, thinking I would never see anyone again. And then he appeared, a human just standing there, risking everything to save me." Sam continued, his voice steady. "I carried her through the borderlands, away from the dragons who were searching. Every step was dangerous. One wrong move and we would have been burned. I had to find food, water, and shelter for both of us. I had to hide in caves, move through forests, and avoid patrols every day. It lasted for weeks, weeks filled with fear, hunger, and danger. But I never let her know how scared I was. I only wanted her to survive." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Why did no one know of this?" he asked. "Why did you not report this or seek help?" Sam shook his head. "If anyone knew, it would have caused chaos. The dragons would have sent patrols and humans might have interfered. It could have caused a war and the princess might have been hurt. I could not risk it. I only wanted her to live." A young noble stepped forward, his green scales glinting. "You are brave," he said quietly, "but you are only human." "How did you survive against dragons, fire, and patrols?" Sam paused. "I survived because I had to. I used my mind, not my strength. I hid when I had to hide. I ran when I had to run. And I trusted that courage and care could be stronger than fire and teeth. I never attacked dragons. I only protected the princess. That was enough." The hall fell silent. Even the guards, who had been ready to strike at any moment, lowered their spears. The story was unbelievable. No human had ever done what Sam described. And yet here he was, alive, standing before the Emperor, calm and honest. Lily reached out and took his hand. "He is telling the truth," she said. "I remember hiding in the cave. I remember him keeping me safe. I remember the fear and I remember the care. He saved me." A few nobles began to whisper among themselves. "A human saved a dragon princess," one said. "How is this possible?" Kale, the red-scaled noble who had spoken before, growled under his breath. "It is impossible. A human could never survive in the borderlands alone." "He must be lying. There is no other explanation." Lily shook her head. "He is not lying. He risked his life for me. That is the only reason we are here today. That is the only reason I remember him." The Emperor leaned forward. "If what you say is true," he said to Sam, "then you did more than any dragon soldier could have done. You protected the heir of this empire with no weapons, no army, only courage. And you survived. Tell us, how did you keep her safe from dragons?" Sam took a deep breath. "I used the land," he said. "Caves, forests, rivers. I moved quietly and stayed out of sight. I watched the patrols, learned their patterns, and avoided them. I used traps to slow them if they got too close. And I kept the princess calm. I spoke to her, told her stories, and made her believe that we could survive. I never let her lose hope. That was more important than food or water." The Emperor's eyes softened. "You protected her not with fire but with mind and courage. That is remarkable." Some of the nobles murmured. "This human, he is more than a janitor," one said. "He is a hero." Sam shook his head. "I never wanted to be a hero. I just did what had to be done. I only wanted her to live." Lily smiled at him. "And that is why you are a hero," she said. "Not because of power or titles, but because you cared when no one else could, because you risked everything to do the right thing." The hall was silent again. Even Kale seemed unsure of what to say. The power of Sam's story had quieted the nobles. For the first time they were listening, really listening to the courage of a human. The Emperor leaned back in his throne. "Very well," he said. "We will honor this story. We will record it in the history of the Empire. And we will ensure that humanity is seen as more than it was before. Perhaps they are capable of more than we believed." Sam felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. He had never wanted recognition, and now the Emperor himself was praising him. He looked at Lily, who smiled and squeezed his hand. "You did it," she said softly. "You survived and you changed everything." A young guard approached cautiously. "Sir," he said to Sam, "you must understand that many here still doubt your story. Some nobles are angry. Some believe you have disrespected the throne. Be careful." Sam nodded. "I understand," he said, "but the truth cannot be hidden forever. Courage will always show itself, even in the smallest of humans." The Emperor's eyes scanned the hall. "Lily," he said, "you have chosen to honor a human over tradition. This is dangerous, but perhaps necessary. Let this be a lesson to all. True strength is not only in fire or scale. It is in courage, in loyalty, in protecting those who cannot protect themselves." Lily stepped forward proudly. "Yes, father, and that is why Sam is important, not for his strength but for his heart." Some of the nobles began to nod, others still whispered, but slowly a change was happening in the hall. Humans had always been underestimated, seen as weak and fragile. But now one human had proven that courage could be stronger than fire, stronger than claws, stronger than any army. Sam took a deep breath and continued. "After we survived the borderlands, I returned the princess to the settlement. Everyone believed I had died. I could not go back to the human envoy openly. I chose to live quietly, to work as a janitor. I thought it would be safer that way. I did not want recognition. I only wanted to live with the memory of keeping her safe." Lily's eyes shone. "And now no one can forget. You risked your life for me, and I will make sure everyone knows your courage. You are my hero, Sam." The Emperor nodded slowly. "It seems the universe has chosen this human for a purpose. Perhaps he is a symbol of what we have overlooked. Perhaps humans are stronger than we believed." Kale growled under his breath, but he said nothing. Even he could see that Sam had done something extraordinary. A human had survived what dragons could not, and he had protected the heir of the Empire. Lily squeezed Sam's hand again. "We will face the Empire together," she said softly. "No one will doubt your courage anymore." Sam nodded slowly, still trying to process everything. He had been a janitor, invisible to the world, unnoticed for years. And now he had survived the impossible, revealed the truth, and stood in the heart of the Dragon Empire as a hero. The hall began to quiet. Whispers became murmurs, and murmurs became thoughtful silence. For the first time, dragons were seeing humans differently, not as weak creatures but as beings capable of courage, loyalty, and bravery beyond measure. The Emperor spoke one last time. "We will record this story. We will honor it. And we will consider what it means for the future of the Empire. Humans have shown us something we did not expect, and for that we will not forget." Sam looked around, feeling a strange mixture of pride and humility. He had survived the impossible. He had protected a princess. And now he had changed the way dragons saw humans. The story was far from over. Questions remained. How would the Empire react to the knowledge that humans were capable of such courage? How would other kingdoms respond? And what would happen next for the janitor who had survived the impossible? Lily smiled at him. "Whatever comes next, we face it together," she said. Sam nodded. "Together," he agreed. And in the heart of the Dragon Empire, the janitor, the man who had once been invisible, stood as a symbol of courage, proof that even the smallest and simplest among them could change the course of history. The hall was quiet, but the tension was thick. Every dragon noble seemed unsure how to act. Some whispered, others stared, and a few even glanced nervously at the Emperor. Sam Porter, the human janitor, stood beside Lily Drake, the Emperor's heir. He had shared the full story of the borderlands, of the dangers of the fire, and of protecting the princess. The Empire now knew the truth, but that truth had stirred both awe and anger. The Emperor, Victor Hale, looked around at his council. "This changes many things," he said. His voice was low but firm. "A human has shown courage greater than most dragons, and he has saved the life of my heir. The question now is, what do we do?" Kale, the red-scaled noble, stepped forward again. His claws tapped angrily on the floor. "Your Highness," he said, his voice full of frustration, "this is an insult to the Empire. A human has been honored above all of us, above the dragon soldiers, the nobles, the guards. How can we allow this?" Lily stepped forward, her golden scales gleaming. "You think it is an insult because he is human, but it is not about race, Kale. It is about courage, loyalty, and heart. Sam risked his life to protect me. That is more important than any rank, any title, any power, and I will defend him." The nobles murmured again. Some nodded slightly while others scowled. Many had never heard a princess speak so boldly. The Emperor leaned back in his throne, his claws folded. He was proud of his daughter, but he also knew the council would not easily accept her words. Kale growled. "It is dangerous to favor a human over dragons. This could cause unrest in the Empire. The soldiers will question why a janitor is honored above them. We could face rebellion." Lily shook her head. "Then the soldiers need to learn that courage matters more than rank. That protecting someone is greater than any title. Sam is not a janitor because he is weak. He is a hero because he is brave. And that is the lesson the Empire must learn." The Emperor's voice rose. "Enough. Kale, you speak only from pride and anger. Courage does not belong to dragons alone. Sam has proven this. And now the Empire must decide whether to learn or to remain blind." Kale hissed, but he said nothing more. The nobles murmured again, the tension in the room thick. Some were shocked, some angry, but a few began to see the truth in the princess's words. Lily turned to Sam. "Do not worry," she said softly. "No matter what they say, I will protect you. You saved my life once. I will not let anyone punish you now." Sam shook his head. "I do not want protection," he said quietly. "I never wanted this attention. I only wanted to live quietly. But if the Empire has learned anything from my story, then perhaps something good can come from it." The Emperor studied him carefully. "You speak wisely, human. You ask for nothing, and yet you have changed the course of history. Tell me, Sam, what do you want?" Sam thought for a moment. He had lived quietly for years, cleaning floors and avoiding attention. He had never sought recognition, never wanted power. "I want only for people to understand," he said. "Humans are capable of courage, of loyalty, of bravery. We are not weak. That is all I want." The Emperor nodded slowly. "Then you shall have it. I will decree that your actions be recorded in the Empire's history. You will not be punished, and you will not be ignored again." Some nobles looked uncomfortable. They had expected Sam to be punished, humiliated, or even exiled. But the Emperor's words left no choice. Sam had saved the heir. He had shown courage. And now the Empire had to recognize him. Lily smiled. "See," she said softly, "the truth is stronger than fear. The Empire must respect it." A noblewoman, her scales a light silver, stepped forward. "Your Highness," she said, "I admit I doubted the human at first. But hearing the story, seeing your words, I understand. Sam has shown courage we rarely see, even in dragons." Other nobles nodded slowly. The hall was beginning to change. Where there had been anger and disbelief, there was now respect and awe. Kale looked around angrily. "This is not over," he said. "Even if we cannot punish him, the council will discuss his place in the Empire. We cannot simply honor a human over dragons without consequences." Lily stepped forward, her voice steady. "I do not care about consequences. Courage is more important than politics. Sam risked everything for me. That is worth more than power, more than titles, more than pride. And if the council cannot see that, then they are blind." The Emperor leaned back, his eyes thoughtful. "Perhaps this is the lesson the Empire needs. Power without courage is empty. Pride without loyalty is worthless. And recognition must be given where it is due, regardless of species." Sam nodded slowly. He felt both nervous and proud. He had never sought recognition, but now he realized that the world could learn from his actions. The Empire could see that courage did not belong to dragons alone. Humans, even ordinary humans, could do extraordinary things. The Emperor's voice grew firm. "I decree that Sam Porter will be honored for his actions. He will be remembered in the Empire's records, and the princess will have full support from the council in defending him." Lily smiled at him. "You see, the Empire will not forget you now. Your courage is recognized." Kale gritted his teeth but said nothing. Some of the younger nobles whispered in agreement while the older ones looked doubtful. The balance of power was shifting, slowly but surely. Sam looked around. He had never wanted fame or honor. But now, standing in the heart of the Dragon Empire, he realized that his quiet actions had changed the way dragons saw humans. He had proven that courage was not limited by size, species, or title. The Emperor rose from his throne. "Let this be a lesson to all. Courage and loyalty are greater than fear and pride. The actions of one human have reminded us of this truth, and the Empire will not ignore it." The nobles nodded slowly. Even Kale looked down, his pride wounded but his respect growing. Lily stepped closer to Sam and held his hand. "You changed the Empire," she said softly. "Do you see? The world has seen your courage." Sam smiled quietly. "I only did what I had to do," he said. "But if my actions can teach others to be brave, then I am glad." The Emperor spoke again. "The council will discuss the details of this recognition, but know this, Sam Porter will not be forgotten. The Empire has learned from him, and perhaps the humans will be seen differently from now on." Lily squeezed Sam's hand gently. "We face the future together," she said. "No one can take this away from us." The hall began to quiet. The nobles whispered less, and the guards lowered their weapons. Respect and awe filled the room where before there had been doubt and anger. Sam realized that, at that moment, something had changed forever. He had been a simple janitor, invisible to the world. But now he was proof that courage could come from anyone, even the smallest and quietest person. The Empire had seen it, and history would remember it. The princess leaned closer. "Are you ready for what comes next?" she asked softly. Sam nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "We have faced the impossible once. We can face it again." The Emperor's gaze softened as he looked at the pair. "Perhaps the future of the Empire is not only in dragons," he said quietly. "Perhaps humans, too, have a place in shaping it." Kale glared but said nothing. Some nobles began to murmur in agreement. A small shift had begun, a new understanding forming. Courage, loyalty, and heart had won over pride, fear, and tradition. Sam felt a strange mix of fear and hope. The Empire had seen his courage, but the story was not over. The council would continue to debate, the nobles would continue to whisper, and challenges would come. But now he had an ally in Lily, the dragon princess who had once been a little girl in danger. Together, they could face whatever the Empire, or the galaxy, might throw at them next. Lily's eyes shone with determination. "No one will forget you again," she said. "The Empire has seen your courage, and the world will know it too." Sam smiled quietly. "I never wanted attention," he said, "but if my story can inspire others, then I will accept it." The hall fell into a thoughtful silence. Even the youngest guards seemed to understand. Humans had been underestimated for too long. One human had proven that courage, loyalty, and heart could change the course of the Empire. And that human was Sam Porter, the janitor who had become a hero. The Emperor rose again. "Let this be a lesson for all of us," he said. "Courage is not limited to dragons. Strength is not only in fire or scale, and loyalty can be found in the most unexpected places. We will honor it and we will learn from it." Sam stood quietly, his heart full. He had survived the impossible, revealed the truth, and changed the way dragons saw humans. And now he would continue to face the challenges ahead, with the princess by his side and the Empire learning from his courage. The story was far from over. But one thing was clear. Sam Porter had proven that even the smallest, simplest human could change the course of history. And the Empire, for the first time, had learned that courage was not measured by size or strength, but by heart. The council chamber was filled with whispers, but this time they were different. Respect had replaced disbelief, and curiosity had replaced anger. The story of Sam Porter, the human janitor who had saved Princess Lily Drake, had spread across the Empire. No one doubted the tale now, but questions remained. How should the Empire honor him? What role should a human play in a dragon world? And what did this mean for the future? Sam stood quietly beside Lily. He had never sought fame, never wanted attention, yet here he was, at the center of an empire's attention. His plain uniform and simple hands had earned him a place in history, but Sam did not feel proud. He felt cautious. The Empire was large, powerful, and full of dragons who still whispered doubt. He had survived impossible dangers before, but now he faced a new challenge: acceptance. The Emperor, Victor Hale, looked down from his throne. "Today marks a turning point," he said. His voice echoed through the hall. "Sam Porter, you have proven that courage is not limited to dragons. You have shown that loyalty, bravery, and heart are what truly matter. The Empire will not forget your actions." Sam nodded slowly. "I only did what I had to do," he said. "I never wanted recognition. I only wanted her to survive." Lily squeezed his hand. "And you did more than survive," she said. "You shaped the future. You are a hero." A noble stepped forward, his scales shining silver in the light. "Your Highness, we must consider the consequences. Honoring a human in this way will change the Empire forever. Soldiers and nobles may question their place. The traditions we follow will be challenged." Lily stepped closer to the noble. "Tradition is not always right," she said firmly. "Courage, loyalty, and sacrifice are right. Sam did what the Empire could not. That is what matters. We cannot let fear of change hide the truth. Kale, the red-scaled noble, growled but said nothing. He had opposed Sam from the beginning, but even he could not deny the truth. The human had survived the borderlands, protected the princess, and returned safely. That alone was remarkable. The emperor nodded. The empire must learn from this. We will honor Sam Porter, not just as a hero, but as a symbol of what humans can achieve. And the princess has my full support in defending this decision. Sam looked around the hall. Some nobles nodded slowly, others whispered among themselves. The guards seemed unsure, but even they looked at him with respect now. The Empire had begun to accept him. Lily smiled at Sam. "You have changed the way they see humans," she said softly. "They will never underestimate us again." Sam shook his head. "I do not seek power," he said quietly. "I only want people to see that courage can come from anyone. Size, strength, or species does not matter. Heart matters." The Emperor's voice was calm but firm. "Then let it be so. Sam Porter will be recorded in the history of the Empire. His story will be taught to soldiers, nobles, and children. Let it inspire everyone to see courage where it is least expected." A noblewoman stepped forward, her eyes shining. "Your Highness, this will unite the Empire in ways we never thought possible. Humans will be seen differently, and dragons will learn that honor comes from actions, not birthright." Sam nodded slowly. He had never imagined this. A janitor, once invisible, now standing as a symbol of courage, teaching an empire a lesson it had never learned. The hall grew quiet as the Emperor continued. "We must also consider the lessons for the future. Humans and dragons must learn to respect one another. This is the beginning of a new era. Sam Porter represents that beginning." Lily squeezed Sam's hand gently. "You have changed everything," she whispered. "Not just for me, but for the entire empire." Sam looked at her. "I only did what was right," he said softly. "But if the empire learns from it, then that is enough." The emperor rose from his throne, his golden eyes sweeping across the council. "Let this be the start of a new understanding. Courage and loyalty do not belong to dragons alone, and from today, humans will be seen not as weak, but as capable of greatness." Some nobles murmured in agreement. Others looked thoughtful. Even Kale shifted, his pride still present but a new respect forming in his eyes. The hall had changed. The story of a single human had reshaped the perception of an entire empire. Lily turned to Sam. "Do you remember the first time I saw you?" she asked softly. Sam nodded. "I remember the cave, the fire, and the fear," he said. "I remember holding you, keeping you safe." Lily smiled. "And now you are still keeping me safe in your own way. You are more than a janitor. You are a symbol of hope and courage." Sam shook his head. "I am just a man," he said, "but I hope that my actions inspire others. That is enough for me." The Emperor spoke again. "The Empire will honor him, and the humans for the first time will be respected. This is a turning point for all of us. May we remember it always." The nobles and guards nodded. Some whispered quietly, still unsure, but the shift was clear. Humans were no longer invisible. Courage had been shown in its purest form, and the Empire had no choice but to recognize it. Sam took a deep breath. He had survived impossible dangers before, but this was different. This was not about fire or battle or hiding in caves. This was about changing the way an empire saw him and his people, and that was a far greater challenge than any he had faced in the borderlands. Lily stepped forward and raised her voice slightly. "Let it be known," she said, "that Sam Porter, a human, risked everything to save my life, that he showed courage when dragons themselves would have failed, and that from today, humans are not to be underestimated." The council fell silent. Even Kale looked away, unable to argue against the truth. The hall was filled with a quiet reverence. Sam had done the impossible. He had not only survived, he had changed the hearts and minds of an empire. The emperor leaned back in his throne, his voice calm. "Let it be recorded. Sam Porter's actions will be remembered for generations, and let it be a reminder that courage and loyalty are the greatest strengths of all." Sam felt a warmth in his chest. He had never sought recognition, never wanted praise. But seeing the Empire acknowledge his courage, seeing humans finally respected, gave him a sense of peace he had never known. Lily smiled at him. "You have done more than save me," she said. "You have changed the Empire." Sam shook his head. "I only did what I had to do," he said quietly. "But if my story helps others, then that is enough." The Emperor looked at both of them. "Let this day be remembered," he said, "as the day a human showed the Empire the meaning of courage. As the day a dragon princess honored bravery above pride. And as the day we learned that strength is not always measured in fire or scale, but in heart." The nobles nodded slowly. Some whispered quietly, some bowed their heads, and even Kale remained silent. The hall had shifted, and there was no turning back. Sam stood quietly, taking in the moment. He had survived the borderlands, risked everything for a child, and now the Empire recognized his courage. He had changed the way dragons saw humans. And perhaps, just perhaps, he had changed the future of the galaxy. Lily looked at him, her golden eyes shining. "We will face the future together," she said softly. "No one will forget you again." Sam smiled quietly. "Together," he agreed. The Emperor nodded. "Then let it be known," he said, "that courage and loyalty are the true measure of strength, and that Sam Porter, a human, stands as a symbol of that truth." The hall was quiet, filled with a sense of awe and respect. The Empire had learned something it had never understood. Courage could come from anyone, even the smallest and simplest human. And the story of Sam Porter, the janitor who had saved a princess, would be remembered for generations to come. Sam took a deep breath and looked around. He had survived the impossible once, and now he had survived the impossible again, changing the hearts and minds of an empire. The humans would no longer be underestimated, and for the first time in his life, Sam felt that his actions had truly mattered. Lily squeezed his hand. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "The Empire has seen your courage. The galaxy will know it too." Sam nodded. "Then we will face the future," he said, "and we will face it together." And in that moment the grand hall of the Dragon Empire stood silent in respect. A janitor, a human, had shown the meaning of courage. A princess had honored the truth. And the Empire, and perhaps the galaxy, would never forget what they had seen. The story of Sam Porter was complete, yet it was only the beginning. A beginning where courage, loyalty, and heart could change the course of history. A beginning where humans were no longer underestimated. And a beginning where the smallest and simplest among them could be heroes. The Empire had learned its lesson. The princess had stood for truth. And Sam, the janitor, had proven that the greatest strength in the galaxy was not fire, scale, or claws, but the courage of the heart. And so, the galaxy changed forever.